Thank you for listening to this Podcast One Sportsnet production, available on Apple Podcasts and Podcast One. Yahoo Daily Fantasy is going big this year. It's the perfect time to start playing Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Never played Daily Fantasy before? Yahoo has you covered. Unlike those other daily fantasy sites that let users enter 150 different lineups in their biggest contests, Yahoo has a 10-entry max. That means better chances for you to win the big contests. You can also try out their daily no management fee contests. Management fee refers to the amount of money that sites take to run the contests. As a result, contests with no management fee will have fewer entries with the same amount of prizes. Also, you can try out Yahoo's innovative quick match feature. It's great for beginners. Yahoo will match you with an opponent for a head-to-head contest at your equal skill level. No more getting taken by experienced players. You can do one quick match contest at $1, $2, $5, $10, and $25 per slate. And there is no management fee. That means if you play for $10 and win, you get $20. Sign up today at yahoo.com/dailyfantasy or by downloading the Yahoo Fantasy app. Get $25 in free play when you make your first deposit using promo code POD25. No waiting on the bonus. You can use it immediately to enter contests. Minimum deposit is only $5. That's the promo code POD25.
Does this place look haunted?
No, I don't think so.
What about those two creepy girls?
Come stay with us.
That is truly frightening.
You know what's really scary? Missing out on Geico's great service. With Geico, you get 24/7 access to licensed agents.
Thank you, creepy girls.
Want to see our room?
We're gonna sleep in the car now.
Happy Geico-ween. Switch today for 24/7 access to licensed agents.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rich Eisen Show. Dan Hellie filling in from our lovely El Segundo studios. Just another lovely day here in L.A. Chris Brockman is in the house.
Yeah, what's up, Dan?
Always.
How you doing, buddy?
Good
to see you, man.
Learned for the first time that you are expecting, my friend. Congratulations.
I am. Thank you so much.
Not actually you, but... You know,
I'm not, but yes. I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah. And always good to catch up with Mike Del Tufo.
Good to see you, Dan.
Once again. Good to see you as well. Thursday Night Football, we have both championship series set in baseball. Very much looking forward to that. Garrett Cole, an absolute monster. 25 strikeouts.
Dude.
In 2 games in the divisional series. I mean, what a stud that guy is for the Astros. Going to take on the Yankees in the ALCS. Of course, the NLCS has already been set. My Washington Nationals
Congrats,
moving
man.
on for the first time. Very pumped about that. I know it's a couple of days old, but I'm still basking in the glow of that a little bit myself. So you're going to have to stick with me today as we talk to Nick Swisher about baseball coming up in a little bit. But first, let's delve into the National Football League. Last night, I don't think it was a surprise what happened. I guess if there was any type of surprise, it would be that the Giants actually hung around for, I don't know, 2.5, 3 quarters, certainly much longer than I thought they would before the Patriots actually broke it open, Brock.
Yeah, I think it was the way in which that game happened last night. You know, Pats jump out 14-0, and you're kind of like, okay, here we go. This is going to be a kind of a ho-hum, 28-0, 35-7, whatever type of game. And, defensive touchdowns. They get a bomb to Golden Tate, announces his presence with authority on a tip pass, kind of a fluke play. And it's 14-14, and you're like, man, the Pats look kind of bad. The Giants are in this. It's one of those weird Patriots-Giants games that we've had throughout the years, kind of throw the records out and just get after it. And then the Pats kind of took their dominance over the Giants, and then the score was what it was. But it was a weird game there for a majority of the time.
I think the word you were looking for in terms of the Pats covered. They pulled away.
Yes.
They covered. They won like they were expected to win.
Brutal under game.
Yeah. Yeah.
My goodness. 3 defensive touchdowns is not, and a lot of turnovers, not good for underbettors.
Well, the Patriots defense, we're hesitant to talk about them being one of the most dominant defenses of all time. I know it's still early. The Patriots 6-0, just the 4th time in franchise history they have been 6-0. This Patriots defense, I can't wait to get into this with Brian Baldinger, on every level is just so good. Once again, last night, they allow 1 offensive touchdown, and that's basically been what they've been doing all season long, coming into the game, averaging 6.8 points per game allowed. This Patriots defense is unbelievable. And a lot of people have been talking about Tom Brady doesn't look like Tom Brady. Listen, Tom Brady's old. He's not going to look like the same Tom Brady. He's still Tom Brady. He can still make the throw when it's needed.
Right.
But I don't think it's Tom Terrific that we've been used to, and that's okay, because if you remember, which you do,
I do.
Those first couple of Super Bowls, those teams were carried by the defense. And I think, once again, this Patriots team going to be carried by the defense.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when you think about Tom Brady, game manager. Because the first few Super Bowl runs, like you said, defensive carried them, Brewski, Seymour, Willie. And then Tom found his groove and became the offensive juggernaut of a player that he became. Second all-time passing yards now. He's going to set the touchdown passing mark soon. And now Tom's at that phase of his career where we don't need Tom to be dominant for 60 minutes. We need Tom to make the throws when it's time to make the throws. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, when it's time to step up, deliver a big dagger, he can still do that. Don't need him to do it for the whole game. Just when he needs to in the fourth quarter. And they haven't been tested yet. They will at some point. That back end of the schedule gets a little tougher. And we'll see. I mean, like you said, he's 42 years old. It's crazy that he's doing this still.
The numbers for Brady: 334 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, no touchdown passes.
Man, as a Sony Michel fantasy owner, getting vultured by
the worst.
Tom Brady of all
worst.
people was devastating.
Now, if you're a Tom Brady fantasy owner, the fact that he at least got 2 rushing touchdowns happens to help you out a little bit.
Yeah, no passing TDs.
334 yards. Mark Sanchez, by the way, the last rookie quarterback to beat the Patriots. That came in week 2 of 2009. Also of note, especially to us in the media world, Rob Gronkowski makes his Fox Sports NFL debut last night on the pregame show, and he left the door kind of cracked open for the comeback. I don't know if that was by design or not, but
where's that hat, Mike?
Not open.
Take a listen. It's always open, Del Tufo. Take a listen to what Gronk had to say last night with Michael Strahan and the guys.
Question for you. You're done everything. You're with us now, which is the family, which means you can't leave. Does that mean football's out now? You're never going back? Because I know you didn't sign that closure contract with the.
Good. You look good too.
Thank you. Yeah, feeling
you're
good.
Through playing.
Yes, feeling good. I've answered this question many times before.
Not for me,
but not for you. I like that. The original TB right here.
That's right.
I would have to be feeling it. Feeling it big time to come back. I mean, it's always going to be open in my mind. I love the game of football. I love playing the game. I love being around the game. I even love watching the game of football now. It makes just appreciation to watch it, just seeing the hits, seeing the glory of it. You understand the game so much more, and why fans love the game so much more.
So tell me that.
So, I'll always keep it open. I'll always keep it open. I'll always keep it open. I'll always keep the door open.
Of course he's going to keep the door open. Why would you not keep the door open if you're Gronk? Because how many people would be talking about Gronk if he didn't keep the door open? That's the headline.
Right.
The headline isn't Gronk was on Fox. Gronk sounded like Gronk. Gronk's a nice addition to the Fox Sports team. It's about, maybe Gronk could come back. He's smart.
Yeah, someone posted it on Twitter yesterday. That type of announcement, great for Gronk Inc.
Yeah,
you know what
absolutely.
I mean? Like, it's good for the brand. Whatever else he's getting into, if it's wrestling, if it's being an analyst, drives the price up a little bit if the option, the idea, the notion that he might return to the NFL is still there.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Is that option actually really still there? People look at Gronk, they say, wow, he's super lean. He's lost some weight. He hasn't been working. Well, he's been working out. He's always been super lean. And if you listen to Bob Kraft on NFL Network, maybe the door really is open. Listen to the Patriots owner.
We all love Gronk, and I think the bottom line is he hasn't put his retirement papers in, so we can always pray and hope. It's a fact that
I didn't know that.
Well, I'm glad I could tell you one thing you don't know, so you can pursue that. And when he puts his retirement papers in, although I think our kicker, Matt Nugent, he's already put his retirement papers in, so even if he puts them in, but that's a good academic argument that there is hope for us still with Gronk.
All right, that makes me feel better hearing my buddy Willie McGinnis say that he didn't know that, because I didn't know that either. I didn't know that the retirement papers weren't in. I thought this was all a pipe dream, that Gronk maybe could come back at some point. That has to mean something for anybody else in the world except Gronk, because I think Gronk probably didn't even know there were retirement papers that needed to be filed.
No chance. No chance.
Right?
No chance.
And if you're Gronk, at what point do you make that decision? Because I guess you can take a full year off like Witten did and then come back, right? Why not? I guess. Let your body heal?
Yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, yes, Gronk looks thin. He looks a little leaned out. He's kind of living his best life right now if you follow him and his girlfriend on Instagram. But what would it really take to get Gronk back in playing shape? I mean, some steaks, some protein shakes, and a couple squats that I think he'll put 15 pounds on pretty fast.
Yeah, I don't... Listen.
And do the Pats need him? That's the more important thing. Yes, they absolutely do. Especially if Josh Gordon is now out. They need his threat in the end zone. The passing game looks a little stale and stagnant right now. And I think in a couple of weeks he's going to get the call from TB12 and it's go time.
One of the best parts about that Gronk Fox experience the first night was when Terry Bradshaw trying to find out how much money that Gronk was making from Fox. How much you get paid? I mean, he just came right out and asked him. I'm not going to tell you that. The one thing he did say was that the negotiation with Fox was a lot easier than his negotiation with the Patriots, which does not come as a surprise at all.
I'm sure.
I'm certainly looking forward to more Gronk appearances on Fox, more Gronk talk about potential comebacks. And when it comes to media and players in the media, this also came out not long ago that Richard Sherman was offered the Monday Night Football job that went to Jason Witten by ESPN. It was an interview that he did with NBC Sports Bay Area. Initially in the article, they just said that they kind of had some tentacles out and wanted to see if he was interested. And then later in the article, it said that it was a lucrative offer for Richard Sherman to do Monday Night Football and be in that booth with Joe Tessitore. Now, makes it a very different booth. To me, Richard Sherman's a whole heck of a lot more interesting than Jason Witten, and I think he could be very good at that. But I'm also hedging kind of my feelings on Richard Sherman after the Baker Mayfield stuff went on. Maybe there's you have to peel back a couple more layers of the onion to get to the bottom of this story. I'll be curious if ESPN releases some type of statement or says anything about their talks with Richard Sherman a couple of years ago.
I don't know why they would need to, but you think about the dynamic in that booth, how it would have been with Richard Sherman. Just someone we've come to know, with very interesting guy, very smart guy, has a lot to say. And I think when you look at the Jason Witten experience on Monday Night Football last year, it would have been a lot more interesting. Of course, you had Richard coming off of an injury, transitioning out of Seattle. Interesting if that's true, how deeply he considered it. I mean, I like that idea. I kind of like the idea of Richard Sherman in there. Probably would have been better than, all due respect, what Monday Night Football has going on right now.
I would love to see Richard Sherman in there. With all due respect, it would have been much better than what they had with Witten in there. I just don't think that was a great role for Witten. I like Booger McFarland just fine. I think he does a nice job. But Sherman's interesting. He brings something to the table. He's smart. Obviously, he went to Stanford. Everybody knows that. He's heavily involved with the NFLPA and what they have going on with everything from gaming to rights issues to the TV networks. He's curious. That's what I like about Richard Sherman.
Great word for that.
I think when you get somebody in the broadcast booth, not only do they need to be curious, they need to be able to explain on a level that fans will understand. And I think Sherman gets that. I'd never thought about him going in the booth at some point, but now this piques my interest because there's always these new guys that are coming out, right? Greg Olsen is somebody who's going to be great. Great.
Awesome.
We've already heard him call games. It's either this week or next week he's going to be calling a game for Fox during the Panthers bye week. He's excellent. And I think at some point, I think he's making $8 million this year. He's not going to make that, obviously, in TV. But at some point when he decides my body's had enough, he's going to step into a number 2 or number 3 team on either CBS or Fox, if not one of these primetime games. Greg Olsen's going to be an absolute stud. And I think Sherman has that type of potential as a broadcaster. But he ain't done yet, man. As you've seen with that San Francisco defense, he's nowhere close to being done. We're going to talk about the 49ers with Brian Baldinger coming up. That's one of my most pleasant surprises in football. And I'm just looking at the college football slate. We have 4 games between ranked teams. We're going to have Bruce Feldman coming on. Actually, it's 5 games between ranked teams coming up this weekend. A great college football slate. And then Nick Swisher talking a little baseball. In terms of college football, which one of these games piques your interest the most? I mean, Oklahoma, Texas, probably the sexiest when you look at it right off the bat. Penn State, Iowa, interesting to me. And then Florida, LSU, being an SEC guy that I am, that's the one that I'm curious to see if Florida can do this again and beat a top 10 team once again. I don't think that's going to be able to happen.
Yeah, you look at that game specifically. Of course, Oklahoma, Texas, it's going to light up the scoreboard, like a Christmas tree. A lot of points in that game, 2 dynamic offenses. But you look at Florida and LSU, can this Florida defense, which has a lot of pros on it, eventually guys who will play on Sunday, can they slow down this new, unbelievably explosive LSU offensive attack led by Joe Burrow? That's what I'm kind of looking forward in watching that game, this new exciting LSU offense. And how it matches up against that tough Florida D.
Burrow's interesting. He was basically beaten out by Dwayne Haskins at Ohio State, kind of burst onto the scene this year because he's been so spectacular. Pro Football Focus has him rated as the best quarterback in college football.
And that's saying something.
It is saying something. So he loses the job at Ohio State. He transfers. He was a graduate transfer, so he's able to play right away. It's his second year at LSU. And this guy could be the first quarterback off the board. Kind of a great comeback story for him. All right, Brockman, poll question.
Yeah, let's do it. You mentioned some of the games. Let's do it. Which game excites you the most this weekend? 2 college, 2 NFL, Florida, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas. Let's go Rams, 49ers. 49ers come down here, try to stay unbeaten. Texans, Chiefs. Deshaun Watson versus Patrick Mahomes. What excites you the most this weekend?
What excites you the most this weekend? All right, I'm going to ponder that.
At Rich Eisen Show on Twitter to vote. Give us a call, 844-204-RICH.
There's a lot of good stuff coming up. Brian Baldinger, one of my favorites. I think I tweeted this out the other day. I don't know if it was New York Post or Newsday. Somebody had a great article on Baldy and how he reinvented himself. 3 years ago, Baldy was walking around with a flip phone. Now he has his own YouTube channel. He's doing breakdowns on Twitter. Every time there are 2 guys at NFL Network that I feel like I learn something from every single time I talk to them. One of them is Brian Baldinger. The other one is Daniel Jeremiah. Baldy will be coming up on the Rich Eisen Show with me here in just a couple of minutes. Very much looking forward to that. Rich also going to be calling in over in London, getting ready to call a big game over there. A 4-man booth for Rich. We're going to talk a little inside baseball when it comes to broadcasting because I want to know how Rich is prepping for that, how he handles that with his crew of familiar faces. It's on Game Day Morning on NFL Network all the time. But Brian Baldinger coming up next on the Rich Eisen Show.
Okay, this is a 30-second commercial, and I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you. But please stay with me. In just 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more on car insurance. This company's been offering great rates and great service for over 75 years, and anytime you need help, you can speak to one of their trained specialists 24/7. The company is Geico. Go to geico.com today. Sorry for all the numbers. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm out of time.
Geico presents Monster Counseling.
Dracula, tell me how you're feeling.
No one understands how lonely it is. No one will even let me into their house. I knock and I knock, but they ignore me.
Uh-huh. What else?
I look in the mirror and I don't even see myself anymore.
If you don't see yourself clearly, can you really expect others to?
I'm having a breakthrough.
It's not easy to be a vampire, but with Geico, it's super easy to switch and save hundreds on your car insurance.
Jones takes the snap. Patriots with a blitz. And a throw to the right. Caught in the flat by Hillman. Nowhere to go. Jamie Collins is there. Ball came loose. Picked up by Van Noy. To the 10, to the 5. Diving to the pylon.
This linebacking crew, unbelievable. Forces another fumble. And then scoop and score. Van Noy.
The Patriots just doing Patriot-like things last night against the New York Football Giants. No touchdown passes for Tom Brady. Doesn't matter. They still forced the rookie Daniel Jones into 3 interceptions, and win handily, improving to 6-0, just the 4th time in franchise history. Not surprisingly, all 4 of those 6-0 starts have come in the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era. Joining me now, one of my favorites of all time. He is Brian Baldinger, Baldy, one of the best NFL analysts in the business, one of my partners in crime at NFL Network, played for the Cowboys, the Colts, and the Eagles, called games for Fox. He's calling games on the radio. He's calling games on TV, does college football, does NFL. Baldy, you're everywhere. What are you doing right now at this very moment?
I just got done studying Stephon Gilmore right now, Hellie. He's the best corner in football right now, and I'm trying to think if he's the best since Darrelle Revis was in his prime, because that's how he's playing the game right now. And he's a big cornerstone to the best defense in this league by far, and maybe the best defense we've seen in a long time.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we talked about this a little bit earlier. This team, this is Tom Brady's team, but it's driven by the defense, very similar to those early Super Bowl winning teams with Brady that had Bruschi and Willie and Vrabel on them.
Yeah.
You talked about this linebacking core, and you compared the linebacking core to the Golden State Warriors. Why?
Well, because they really play multiple. All of them play multiple positions. It doesn't matter if we're talking about Jamie Collins right now, who leads the team in tackles, or Dante Hightower, or Kyle Van Noy, or Roberts. John Simon right now. They played every linebacker on the roster last night, and they can play inside, they can play outside, they can stand up, they can rush, they can run twist stunts. I compared them because Golden State has sort of defined what positionless basketball is, where anybody can handle the ball, anybody can run the break, and that's kind of how right now New England is playing defense. There's such interchangeable parts that you really can't key on one guy right now.
Dan Hellie filling in for Rich Eisen on The Rich Eisen Show with Brian Baldinger on the phone right now, allowing 6.8 points per game going into last night, 1 offensive touchdown allowed tonight. You said it's the best defense we've seen in a long time. Could this be the best since the 85 Bears? I know they don't have kind of the headliners, the big names, but Stephon Gilmore certainly falls in that category.
Well, he does. You got to think about, the Ravens of 2001. They were a great defense, and they were probably the best since the Bears. And I played on some Eagle teams in 91 and 92, which was the best in football. But right now, if you just look at them, they're literally number one in statistics on every single category except for run defense. But, they lead the league in takeaways and interceptions and sacks. They have 25 sacks right now, Dan, in the first 6 games. Just prorate that. And you're going to hit somewhere around the 70 numbers right now. And they just do the best job right now of marrying their coverage with the variety of twist stunts in the way that they rush the passer. They might not have a guy on the team that gets double digits in sacks. They rarely do, but they don't care about that. The linebackers have 16 of the 25 sacks. There's more than enough to go around with it, the way that they basically make the quarterback hold the ball the way we saw Daniel Jones hold the ball last night, but it's been every single week they make the quarterback hold the ball. And they'll play just sticky, tight man coverage with the robber in the middle of the field, a variety of coverages. But the foundation is man coverage with twist stunts up front. They took down everybody in the postseason last year, shutting out Patrick Mahomes in that first half, keeping the Rams to 3 points, and it's all carried on into this season.
The other undefeated team in the NFL right now, the San Francisco 49ers. Big game for the 49ers this weekend here in L.A., taking on the 3-2 Rams. San Francisco, Baldy, the only team in the NFL with a top 5 total offense, scoring offense, top 5 total defense, scoring defense. This is the 49er team we've been waiting to see since Kyle Shanahan got in town.
It is. And look, they lead the league in rushing. And I think, the run game coordinator, Mike McDaniels, is a guy that has followed Kyle Shanahan everywhere he's ever been, starting in Houston to Washington to Cleveland to Atlanta and now out to L.A., and he's kind of a genius in there. And the way that they run the ball is kind of genius. Now, they're going to be without really key components this week, so they'll be shorthanded. No Kyle Juszczyk, no Mike McGlinchey. Joe Staley has been out for 3 weeks. So, I got to see how they do it now against a Rams defense that, has struggled quite a bit, especially going back to Tampa Bay and then against Seattle. So maybe, and they've lost key players too. But yeah, I mean, they're the number one rushing offense in football right now, Dan. But that defensive line, it was just it was like Shark Week last Monday night against the Cleveland Browns. I mean, Baker Mayfield was a piece of chum, and they got after him. And that's what John Lynch has been building. I mean, they've been, drafting defensive linemen high for a long time, and now they got them all on the field healthy right now. And if you can't run the ball and bounce it out and do some things, and you let that defensive line just feast, I mean, they'll get after Jared Goff if they can't balance it out. And I think Sean McVay knows that.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that game. If they beat the Rams, and I know this isn't the same Rams team, at least not yet, that they were last year, do you have to start calling the 49ers one of the top 2-3 teams in the NFC?
Well, you got to put them in that in the playoff hunt. I mean, if they could get to 5-0, I mean, they're going to be in that playoff picture. And they're doing things that they have never done under Kyle Shanahan. They're taking the ball away. I mean, they had 7 takeaways all of last year. They have more than that right now. They couldn't intercept the ball last year. I mean, they're doing that, and that all starts up front. But yes, I mean, you could definitely, if they're 5-0 and they go through what they've just done, whether it's Cleveland on Monday night and the Rams this weekend, Dan, I mean, they're certainly one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the NFC.
I have to ask you about the Rams. I don't want to focus too much on this game, but to me, this is the most interesting game of the weekend. For the first time in the McVay era, it just feels like there's uncertainty with this Rams offense. The offensive line is struggling. Todd Gurley, we don't know what the situation is in terms of him playing this week because of the quad. Jared Goff has 10 giveaways, more than any other quarterback in the NFL this year. When you're breaking down the tape, what are you seeing that's not going right for this Rams offense right now?
Well, they're not getting the big chunk plays that they're used to getting. I mean, they've been up the top 2 or 3 in the league in big chunk plays, and they're not getting those. And then I think right now, I think there's just a huge disparity. I mean, they've thrown the ball over 100 times more than they've run it in the first 5 weeks of the season. We saw it, when Jared Goff threw the ball well over 60 times against Tampa. Now, they were playing from behind, but, I mean, they ran the ball 11 times that day. And so they've gotten away from Todd Gurley and all the things that Todd Gurley has been known for since Sean McVay got there. I mean, just been a great all-around player. And he has not been that type of player right now. I mean, he's not a big part of their passing game. In fact, he's averaging less than 5 yards a catch. And we're used to seeing big screens and all that. Now, they're replacing 2 offensive linemen, from a year ago in a Super Bowl run, and an offensive line that started the same line for 19 straight weeks in a season. I'm not putting anything on what they're getting from Brian Allen at center or Joseph Noteboom at left guard, but they're not the same group up front right now. And I think the quarterback has struggled a little bit when they're putting it all on him to throw it all around the yard to win these games. And he's, you mentioned the 10 turnovers. That's far too many from that position.
Brian Baldinger joining the Rich Eisen Show. Dan Hellie filling in for Rich now. Baldy, on your Baldy's breakdowns, you focus a little bit on the Saints. Our producer, Don Bowie, big Saints fan. I think he wanted me to ask a Saints question here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Teddy Bridgewater, I'm driving in.
I'm a big Don Bowie fan.
Bowie's the best.
We go way back.
Bowie's the best. I'm driving in. I'm listening to a little sports talk radio, and I hear all these guys, and Bridgewater's been great. Listen, he hasn't lost the game, but I don't think Bridgewater's been great. I think he played better his last game. Is Bridgewater a starting NFL quarterback right now?
Yeah, I mean, the way he played last week, he is. But but the Saints, I mean, you go back to the win in Seattle. You go back to what they did against Dallas. You look back at what they did last week. They define what a team is all about. I mean, the offensive line pitched a shutout last week. Literally, Teddy Bridgewater wasn't hit. I mean, that's Shaq Barrett coming in, who leads the league in sacks with 9 and forced fumbles and all that stuff, and he didn't, he wasn't even breathing on Teddy Bridgewater. They shut him out. And then Michael Thomas looked like Michael Thomas last week. I mean, he's unstoppable. His Twitter handle is "Can't Guard Mike," and they couldn't guard Mike. And Alvin Kamara is just an unselfish player. The fullback, Zach Line, is an unselfish player. And defensively, they might be the best defensive line in football all around. I mean, when you talk about shutting down Ezekiel Elliott for less than 2 yards a carry 2 weeks ago, you go and see how they defended Russell Wilson in Seattle. You go and look at how they just completely dominated the line of scrimmage last week against Tampa. And then you look at Marshawn Lattimore. He wants to go match up against the best. He did it against Amari Cooper, shut him down. He went up against Mike Evans and others last week. They shut him down. So right now, their defense is playing as well as anybody in football, including the Patriots. So it's just a total team effort. And you go, okay, no Drew Brees, no problem, because they really define what a team is all about. Everybody has stepped up. Everybody has improved as a team since Drew Brees went down.
Yeah, it's really impressive what they've been able to do. And I think it just goes to show how important backup QBs are, right? We haven't seen it in recent history like we have this year. 10 different backup quarterbacks have started a game this year through week 5. The most intriguing to me, I think you know where I'm going here, Baldy. Gardner Minshew, he's 2-2. The whole deal, the stash, the outfits, the swag, and Kyle Allen, who hasn't lost a game. Both are top 10 in passer rating. Minshew has 9 touchdown passes and a pick this year. Kyle Allen hasn't thrown an interception in 3 starts. I got an up close and look at Kyle Allen. I called his game against the Cardinals. Which one of these guys, if you had to roll the rest of the way with one of them, Minshew or Allen, which one would you choose?
Gosh, the reason why I'm even hesitating, I think the obvious one is Minshew. But the reason why I'm even hesitating is what Norv Turner has done and allowed for Kyle Allen to succeed. Now, you saw him against the Cardinals and calling that game at Fox, Dan. You saw that touchdown pass before the end of the first half to DJ Moore. He rifled that ball in the middle of the field in the jaws of the Arizona defense and hit Moore in stride. And he can finish as well as anybody in this business in stride with his speed and with his strength. 52 yards later, they had the Cardinals. It was over. But if you look at what Norv Turner is doing right now, you can easily say and make a case, that Christian McCaffrey is the MVP of this business. And he leads the league in rushing. He leads the league in total yards from scrimmage. And, Norv Turner is doing a great job of just game planning and basically calling plays to get Christian McCaffrey just isolated in space like he did on the 18-yard touchdown pass last week. He's just isolated against Myles Jack, and Kyle Allen, throws a 5-yard pass. McCaffrey finishes it in the paint. Norv is really doing a great job, I think, with Kyle. He's not forcing the ball down the field. He's not putting him in bad positions. And so they'll get tested this week. And they'll have a rematch game with Tampa Bay, and we'll find out a little bit more about Kyle Allen. But Minshew's been unbelievable. He really has. That comeback win in Denver, I played in Denver 7 times, Dan. I never won a game up there. That place is impossible to play in. It's just, it's loud. You can't breathe. You get tired quickly. He goes up there and has a comeback win against Denver. And I know what Denver is and all that stuff, but still, it's impressive to see what he is doing and what he continues to do. He had a chance to win that game last week all the way to the very end. So, the backup quarterbacks, that's one of the big themes of this season. And I think a lot of teams are going to go, gosh, I wish we would have invested in a guy like Teddy Bridgewater or drafted a guy like, Gardner Minshew. And, because we're going to see more guys go down before the season's out.
Yeah, we could see another backup quarterback getting some run for the Steelers. Quickly, Baldy, before we let you go, I just want to put you on the spot here. The way too early MVP vote, you mentioned Christian McCaffrey. Let's go McCaffrey, Mahomes, or Russell Wilson. Who do you have?
Can we flip a 3-headed coin? You can't really. I'm going to see Mahomes this week against Houston. Now, we just saw him been held to 13 points by the Colts. Did a good job of playing keep away and running the ball and keeping him off the field. But I have a feeling he's going to bounce back awfully fast this weekend. But Russell Wilson was so good the last time we saw him that you almost have to say Russell Wilson at this point with what Seattle is doing.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just kind of what he's working with and what he's lost. Russell Wilson continues to get it done. Baldy, what game are you doing this weekend?
I will be in Kansas City. We'll see a great shootout between Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. We don't have time to get to that, but that's another game we're going to focus on a little bit later in the show. Baldy, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate the time. Great to talk to you, brother.
Anytime, man. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. That's Brian Baldinger, one of the very best in the business. He really does. He teaches you something every single time you talk to him. Check out Baldy on Twitter. And his hands look like this. You can't see it on the radio, but his pinky's all crooked and.
Just Google Brian Baldinger finger.
Yeah, it's the greatest. I don't know if they have between Baldy's finger and Dion's feet.
Right.
I don't think you can find those on Google, but Dion has the most mangled feet I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's gross. You know who else has jacked up fingers? Torrey Holt.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know what? I just saw a picture of Calvin Johnson. I think if you're a receiver in the NFL and you're just catching those bullets on a consistent basis, the fingers are going to be messed up.
Edelman has kind of a jacked up pinky too. It's gross.
Yeah, it's, you know what? It's the price you pay for superstardom in the National Football League. I want to talk about that Houston-Kansas City game. I wish we had a little more time to get to that with Baldy. I believe, I said this last year at the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes is right now the face of the National Football League. I don't think there's another player in the NFL that when you're flipping through or you're watching on the Red Zone with Andrew Siciliano that you say, stop. You don't do anything else. You don't take a sip of coffee. You don't get a beer out of the fridge. You sit right there because you don't want to miss a single second of what Patrick Mahomes is doing. There's nobody else that's more exciting. I love Alvin Kamara. I love Christian McCaffrey. I love what Tom Brady has done in terms of his body of work. He is the greatest quarterback who's ever lived. But is there a single quarterback that we have ever seen on the NFL level that is as exciting as Patrick Mahomes?
I don't think. Early Aaron Rodgers, when Rodgers first got going, they're similar in the style of play. They roll out. They can make those crazy long throws on the run with the pinpoint accuracy. I think that for me, it's kind of Rodgers, and then Mahomes is like Rodgers on steroids, like becoming the Hulk. He's like, Rodgers is Bruce Banner, Patrick Mahomes is the Hulk, and I love it. He's so great. He's so fun to watch.
Is there a player you have seen in your lifetime that is more exciting than Patrick Mahomes? 844-204-RICH. Give us a call on the Rich Eisen Show. I would say early on, Falcons Michael Vick was maybe as exciting, a very, very different type of excitement than Patrick Mahomes.
Pretty good one.
But in terms of just not wanting to change the channel, not wanting to miss a thing. If to go way back,
that's a pretty good one.
Bo Jackson was there for me as well. And maybe I'm thinking more like Tecmo Bowl Bo Jackson as opposed to real life Bo Jackson. But Michael Vick for me, growing up, was the guy I didn't want to miss a single thing. All right, we're going to get to more next. Dan Hellie filling in for Rich on the Rich Eisen Show. 844-204-RICH. If you want to get on the radio and TV, call us, let us know. We're talking the most exciting player you have ever seen in your lifetime in the National Football League. We're back. Rich is going to be calling in from London. See you in a minute.
Let's talk about the holidays. I know it's crazy early to talk about the holidays, but I'm sure as you get ready for the holidays, you don't want to go through another holiday season taking closed-mouth photos while everyone else is grinning ear to ear. That's why I'm suggesting getting a photo-ready smile now with clear aligners from Candid. Candid's aligners can help straighten your teeth faster than traditional wire braces. Treatment takes just 6 months on average. An experienced orthodontist who's licensed in your state creates a custom treatment plan. Then they show you a 3D preview so you can see how your teeth will look after you're done. Candid's aligners are comfortable, removable, and completely invisible. Candid ships your aligners directly to you, so there's no hassle of going to an orthodontist's office, and Candid costs 65% less than braces. And with each aligner purchased, Candid donates $25 to Smile Train, who brings safe, 100% free cleft lip and palate treatment to children around the globe. I want you to have a photo-ready smile by the holidays, and you can do it. Go to candidco.com/Eisen and use code Eisen to get $75 off. That's candidco.com/EISEN. Use code Eisen for $75 off. candidco.com/EISEN. Hey, listeners, just wanted to take a minute to thank all of my great sponsors and all of you great listeners for supporting this podcast. Certainly couldn't do this show without either of you, and I wanted to remind you that you can support my sponsors by going to my show page at podcastone.com, clicking on the Support This Podcast button, and there you'll see all of my wonderful sponsors that help make this show possible. So thank you for downloading, subscribing, and of course, supporting. Now, back to the show.
Does this place look haunted?
No, I don't think so.
What about those two creepy girls?
Come stay with us.
That is truly frightening.
You know what's really scary? Missing out on Geico's great service. With Geico, you get 24/7 access to licensed agents.
Thank you, creepy girls.
Want to see our room?
We're gonna sleep in the car now.
Happy Geico-ween. Switch today for 24/7 access to licensed agents.
Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show, everybody. Dan Hellie filling in for Rich, who is in London. He's going to be calling in. We're going to chat with him in just a minute. If you watch or listen to the show, you know that Rich has been talking about Super Bowl memories as of late, and I have some exciting news for all the NFL fans out there. Any great football player will tell you that it takes a team to help you reach your goals, and this year Courtyard is celebrating those important friendships by sending one lucky group to wake up inside the stadium on the morning of the Super Bowl. Celebrate the friends who always have your back. One lucky winner and 3 friends will receive the ultimate Super Bowl experience, including a night stay inside Courtyard Stadium Suite and tickets to the big game. This is unbelievable. Share a photo and a story that shows off your game-changing friendship along with the hashtag Courtyard Super Bowl Contest for a chance to win. That's hashtag Courtyard Super Bowl Contest. You're going to get a chance to win, and to sweeten the deal, you're going to get to spend some time with Rich down in Miami as well. Don't wait. Enter now on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The copy says, with me in Miami. You don't want to hang out with me in Miami. You're going to want to hang out with Rich in Miami. I'll tell you that much. All right, I'll give you my little Super Bowl story. This is back when I was working for NBC Washington before I came out here to L.A. It was Super Bowl 42. It was the Patriots' perfect season. They were taking on the Giants. It was in Arizona. And generally, when you work for a local station or even sometimes some networks, the press box at the Super Bowl is just packed. You have international media there. There's no bigger sporting event really in the world than the Super Bowl, obviously. Apologies to the World Cup. But there's no room, right? So you have auxiliary press box seating. What does that mean? It means you're sitting in a seat in the nosebleeds at the top of the stadium because they have nowhere else to put you, but you have a credential and you need a seat. So I'd say probably midway through the fourth quarter, they summon you to come down to the bowels of the stadium so you can wait there. You watch the end of the game on a little monitor, and you wait to go on the field to get your post-game interviews so you can put them on, your local affiliate, wherever you are, New York, L.A., D.C., whatever. So I'm waiting down there in this big group of people. And at that time, everybody's trying to think of a way kind of around, over, and through to get onto the field, maybe earlier than you should. Well, I see this big, long line of dudes, all like dudes that look like me, like early 30s white guys in suits. And I'm like, oh, that's all the PR guys. I wonder where they're going. And I heard them over talking. They're going onto the field to help, kind of manage things post-game. So I just slipped in to that line, and I'm on the field. I'm on the field for the last 8 minutes of Super Bowl 42. I'm on the Giants sideline. Why the Giants sideline as opposed to the Patriots? I have no idea. I just felt like I had a better chance of not getting kicked out there than anywhere else. These days, they scan your credential to get on the field. Back then, it was much easier to kind of sneak around. So I had the credential just not to be on the field at that time. So I'm watching from the Giants sideline. The Tyree catch happens. The Plex touchdown happens. The comeback. I'm right there. This, for me, was my greatest singular memory in broadcasting or as a sports fan. It was unbelievable. I grew up a Redskins fan, had no rooting interest either way. It was just amazing to be a part of that moment in time and literally feet, inches away from these guys who just really did the impossible. And it's funny now, you work with David Carr, who was there as the backup, Sean O'Hara, right, who was the center. It was talking to him about it now. It's so much fun. So that's my greatest Super Bowl memory. And Del Tufo,
I have two.
You were there too.
I was there for 42, but my favorite's 36. Working for Fox, Super Bowl 36, New Orleans. We're at the end of the game. We're in the truck getting ready for the post game. You think that the Rams got it going. All of a sudden, Vinatieri comes down with Brady. They're all ready. He kicks with 7 seconds, kicks the field goal, and you're like, oh my God, they just won the game. And we were in the truck, and everybody, I'll never forget, everybody's screaming, change all the graphics, because they had all the St. Louis graphics going. And we were like sitting there going, I can't believe the Patriots just came back. So I kind of always, people think I hate Brady. I've kind of grown up with Brady, so it's kind of part of that. I always remember that moment being iconic for me, sitting in that truck and seeing that happen. And look, it's almost 20 years later, the guy's still playing. It's insane.
Yeah, my memory from 42, at the time, I was the sports editor of a small newspaper in Maine where I worked before I moved out to Los Angeles. So on Sundays, I would usually go in the evening after the football games to set up Monday's paper. So it being Super Sunday, we had special, front and back color pages. We were going to have 4 full pages of Super Bowl coverage because we were heavy Patriots. Everyone in Maine are Pats fans. And so I went in, early to get everything set up. I had my headline picked out. I had all these Pats themes, what I was going to do for columns and how I was going to lay out the pictures, and go to a friend's house, watch the game. Of course, what happened. And then we're all so bummed out. We're all so depressed. And then I'm just thinking to myself, now I got to go back to work and put in 4 full pages of Giants celebration. My front page, instead of Brady holding up the trophy with my big undefeated headline, I had to put Eli, and then the picture of the famous picture of Junior Seau with his head down and Strahan flexing, and I had to do all. It was just the worst night I ever had working at that paper.
Everybody thinks it's so glamorous to work in sports media. First of all, it ain't banker's hours, as indicated by your story, right? Half the time you're working on weekends.
Nights.
And I've covered the team that I grew up loving.
Yeah.
Burgundy and gold, man, the Washington Redskins. And it's not easy to cover a team that you love and then to have to go in there and do what's required of the job.
Right, got to do the job. You got to do the job, and I had to do it. And it wasn't fun, but worked out.
Well, it's a lot easier covering the Patriots and the Redskins, I'll tell you that much, my friend. Rich is doing his job from London. We're back with Rich after this.
As always, a big thank you for listening to the show. We'd like to ask a small but very important favor of you. It'll only take a few minutes, and if you're one of the first people to do it, Podcast One will make it worth your time. We need you to complete a short survey, because the information you give us can help make things better for the show and you as a listener. Just go to podcastone.com/survey, and everything will be right there for you. That's podcastone.com/survey. The first 250 people who complete the survey will get a $10 gift card to Amazon.com, and 2 Grand Prize winners will be selected at random to get a $100 Amazon gift card. How about that? Free money. It's a win-win. Our shows are supported by advertisers, so filling this out will really help us cater to the needs of you as a loyal listener. Go to podcastone.com/survey, answer some questions, and potentially make some money along the way. From all of us here at Podcast One, thank you for being a dedicated listener.
Mom, I think this doll I found in the attic is cursed.
No, its eyes are just very lifelike.
Then why does its head keep spinning?
Be my friend forever.
Oh, that is scary.
You know what's really scary? Missing out on Geico's easy-to-use mobile app. You can manage your Geico policy whenever, wherever.
Let's play with another doll. Or we can just bury it deep in the ground.
Happy Geico-ween. Download the industry-leading Geico app today.